Hello everybody, welcome to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and this week we are playing Bridgevine. That's right, the deck that made it to the top 8 of the Pro Tour, not the top 4, which is what the cut was for this Team Pro Tour, but the top 8. This list we are playing today is the hands of Jacob Nagra. So it's a Bridgevine deck. That means two things. We're playing Bridge from Below, and we are playing Vengevine. Both of those give you value out of the graveyard. Vengevine, of course, 4/3. For 4, but we're never going to pay 4. We're going to use the other ability on it. Cast 2 creature spells in a turn. Return it from your graveyard to play. It has haste. It's incredible value out of your graveyard, along with Bridge from Below. Bridge from Below, if it's in your graveyard, every time a creature goes to your graveyard from play, you get a 2/2. Of course, if an opponent has any creature leave the battlefield and hit their graveyard, you have to remove it, but we get a lot of value off it because we have all these cards that work out very well for low costs. They work well going into the graveyard. Of course, we're talking Gravecrawler, Bloodghast, Insolent Neonate, Walking Ballista. These creatures, all of them, can either give us value in the sense that Insolent Neonate, Gravecrawler, Bloodghast, all of these things go in and out of the battlefield repeatedly, and you get value off them. You can make a bunch of zombies from Bridge from Below. You can trigger your Vengevines. And then we have things like Walking Ballista and Hangarback Walker, which are pretty good in play, but also you can cast them 4/0 and get the tokens from your Bridge from Below immediately, or trigger your Vengevines immediately. So we have some pretty crazy turn 1 plays possible here with this deck. Now, tying it all together is a new M19 card, Citrus Supplier. That's kind of what makes it all possible. It brings it all together. When it enters play or dies, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, and that is going to fill our graveyard with our Bridge from Belows, with our Gravecrawlers, with our Bloodghasts, with our Vengevines. And you know what? It's a zombie, which is perfect, so we can cast Gravecrawler out of our graveyard. So, last card in the deck worth talking about here, Greater Gargadon. So this is sort of a sacrifice outlet, which means a lot to the deck. Other lists have played something like Viscera Seer, but Greater Gargadon allows you to do a bunch of stuff at instant speed, suspend 10, but you can feed it creatures and lands. And you know what? We have a lot of creatures and lands and artifacts to feed to the Greater Gargadon. So you can get all the value out of recycling to them. And the payoff at the end is a 9/7 with haste. Pretty strong. All right, everybody. That is the deck. It is Bridgevine. Took the Pro Tour by storm. We'll see if it has legs going forward in Modern, but it's certainly a lot of fun to play. All right, on to match 1 here. We're going to keep this hand here. Insolent Neonate. Not a bad one to start on. We're on the draw. So let's see. I mean, this hand's not crazy good, but it's not too bad either. There's a Vengevine. That is perfect. That's exactly what we want to discard to this Insolent Neonate. Alright, so we'll play out the Neonate here. Pass the turn. I have no way of casting a second creature spell this turn, but next turn, I can sacrifice the Neonate, pitch the Vengevine, cast a Gravecrawler, and then cast a Bushwhacker if we need to for no value, just to get the Vengevine in play. And looks like that's what we're going to get the opportunity to do here. Alright, we'll pitch the Vengevine. Now, our opponent might have Path to Exile, but that's okay. Oh gosh, there's a card I sure want to discard. Bridge from Below. Alright, so yeah, I guess we'll just go ahead and go for it here. We'll cast a Gravecrawler, and we'll cast a Bushwhacker for no value. I say no value, right? I mean, we're going to have a 1/1, and sure, that's not great when you don't kick it, but it's going to give us a turn 2 Vengevine, and that's pretty strong. What I would really like to do is draw Faithless Looting. Like I said, Faithless Looting's so good. If you draw Faithless Looting in your opening hand, it's probably the best deck in the format right here. Think about if we had a turn 1 Faithless Looting, put Vengevine and Bridge from Below into the graveyard. Yeah, pretty good. Alright, I would like to return Vengevine to play. The Bushwhackers as well, not kicked. But hey, this Vengevine has haste, so let's get in there. Our opponent might just Lightning Bolt it, but you know what? That's fine too. More likely they're going to path it, and we'll figure that out later. Gargadon, very important. Greater Gargadon was in play. We could sacrifice the Vengevine to it, protecting it from path, making it able to be brought back. They might have a Lightning Helix. Oh, that's fine. Opponent Lightning Helix shocking themselves to Lightning Helix and Vengevine. I'm okay with that. Our deck is pretty good at keeping it coming back. That said, this deck does peter out pretty hard sometimes, and you just end up with this board of 2/1s that can't block and 1/1s and that don't do much. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Oh, it looks like our opponent's got a Delver strategy here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play the Playing Bloodghast has some value. You know what? There's also value just playing Walking Ballista for 1. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to play Walking Ballista for 1 here. If our opponent lets it resolve, I'm just going to use it to shoot the Delver of Secrets. If they counter it, well, I'll go from there. Our deck wants to be the beatdown, and you know, some hands it's more possible than others. But if my opponent does they tap out here, so that means it's safe to go ahead and bring back. Oh, Remand is actually pretty nice. All right, I am just going to go ahead and go for. So what do we think has more value? This is what it comes down to. I could play Walking Ballista for 0 here, and get back Vengevine. I could play Bushwhacker for no value and still have Ballista in hand. I mean, saving Ballista in hand means we have more to do later. But sort of the one shot it's basically what do we think the kicker is worth on a Bushwhacker here. That's kind of what this comes down to. Sure like to draw Faithless Looting, discard Bloodghast, Bridge from below. Alright, this is a difficult call. I think it's correct to actually keep the Bushwhacker, given we're going to be spamming the board with small creatures here. So letting it go for no value doesn't feel great necessarily, but hey, we're still getting... I mean, like I said, there is still value. We basically turned our Walking Ballista into a Vengevine. And we get in for 12 damage here, so all in all, not bad. And see if our opponent transforms their Delver here. They do not. All right. Yeah, this game's going to be rough. Our opponent now has Cryptic Command mana up. You know, they... Oh, wow. Instead, they have a Geist Saint draft. And they're going to attack. Our opponent wants to be the beatdown here. All right, well, like I said, this is where this Bushwhacker comes in very handy. As a matter of fact, if we hit a land, it's going to look really nice when we play Bloodghast out with it. Oh, okay, just another Bushwhacker. Fair enough. Well, I'm just going to Bushwhack this turn, and probably just Bushwhack next turn. I could have played out one of them and then kicked the other and attacked with it. But I kind of like just spamming out Bushwhackers as long as we can. And more importantly, this is still 12 damage here, threatening. So our opponent has to have Lightning Bolt, which they do. That's fine. But it's still an ugly attack for them. And next turn, we still get to Bloodghast and Bushwhack and bring back our Vengevine with our opponent at 5 life. So this does not look great for them. Now, obviously, we could run headfirst into Cryptic, and that would be pretty terrible for us. But we'll see. This game's going to revolve around Cryptic Command, I think. All right, they drew, and they went one top, one bottom with the Serum Visions. What will they do here? I mean, the problem for them is it's probably Cryptic Command or bust, to be honest. And they're going to attack. So, I mean, we are taking 9. That is a bunch of damage. All right, well, you know what? Oh, wow. Okay, sure, absolutely. This should be good enough for us. All right, we even get to live the dream here. We're going to get it all in play. Do all the damage. See, this deck is sweet sometimes. Our opponent played a pretty grindy great game here in game 1, and we were able to just grind them out with our recursive value. We're going to have this this Vengevine in play for the 3rd time this game. Yeah, it might be enough for our opponent to scoop him up right there. Yep, all right, there we go, everybody. We got game 1. On to game 2, huh? Our opponent playing some sort of Delver strategy. I don't know what they're doing, but I think Bitter Blossom was pretty good against it. So is Lightning Axe. It's possible, by the way, some amount of these cards should be in the main deck. One of the things I've noticed playing this deck at the PBTQ, and I played 7 rounds with it, I went 4 and 3, is that I really feel like it wants more Faithless Looting. It's kind of the best card in the deck. I was, considering Burning Inquiry, but maybe you just play Lightning Axes in the main deck, given that there are enough creature decks in the format that it's almost never dead, and you just need discard outlets. You need, I mean, specifically, you need real discard outlets. Faithless Looting is a perfect card. You need discard outlets. Digs you into your deck and put stuff in your graveyard. And I think Burning Inquiry, take a page from Hollow One's book, might be the way to move forward here. Maybe there's even some, you know, amalgamation between those two decks where you cut something. I don't know what you cut, but you cut something and you play 4 Hangarback, sorry, what do you say? 4 Hollow Ones and 4 Burning Inquiries, right? You cut a couple Gargadons, maybe a couple Walking Ballistas and Hangarbacks. You could get pretty interesting, I think. All right, anyways. So on to the sideboard here. Maybe I think we don't want them all. Let's give this a shot here. We want to be faster than our opponent. We're using, since they have guys to St. Traff hexproof threats. We do just want to be a little quicker than them, which, you know, to be fair, we can do if we have a good draw. This hand's pretty bad, but I mean, I do like Greater Gargadons, and I do like Insolent Neonates, and we are on the draw. So this hand gets to, I get that it looks bad, but worst case scenario, you can turn your Neonate into another card by discarding a land. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan, but this hand is, I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. This hand, though, much, much better. We're going to get to, yeah, I'm going to bottom that. We're going to need some lands here. We're going to get a display, show off one of my favorite interactions of the deck, which is Insolent Neonate plus Bridge from Below. So, I'm not sure, you know, there's all different ways to think it might work, but the truth is how it actually works, and this was not, it's not intuitive at first. You actually discard the card first, and then sacrifice the Insolent Neonate, and that means that Insolent Neonate hits your graveyard after Bridge from Below's there, and you actually get a zombie off of it. So you get to upgrade your Insolent Neonate into a zombie and draw a card. Pretty nice. I mean, I guess the draw just replaces the Bridge from Below. So really, it all, I mean, you're upgrading your Neonate, but that's pretty good. All right, opponent's going to opt on the instep here. Also, hitting Vengevine for us, this has the potential to be great. If we hit a land, or if we hit a 0-drop creature, our next turn is going to be insane. Would very, very much like to hit a land. Then I can just go Citrus Supplier and Insolent Neonate. All right, here we go. Our opponent even tapped a mana, so the path close is clear. Oh my gosh, we did it. All right, so we're going to start things off here. I guess we have to do it with the Insolent Neonate first, so that the Vengevine's in our graveyard when we play the Citrus Supplier. So, you know, we don't get a shot with this Supplier to put more Vengevines in there, but we do get to guarantee we're going to trigger this one. And then we get to mill some more. So, this looks pretty good overall. This is the kind of broken start that you want against a deck like this. Our opponent could have Anger of the Gods, and that's where having a Gargadon in play is a big deal. And we didn't, I mean, our hand was just too explosive to really go for that this time around. But if our opponent doesn't have it next turn, there's a Faithless Looting. That's pretty good, too. All right, we had to get in for 6. But that's the thing is, even if our opponent does have, say, an Anger of the Gods, yeah, it's certainly not great for us, but it's not the end of the world either. We have a Faithless Looting in our graveyard. That'll draw us into more stuff. We can suspend this Gargadon. And if our opponent doesn't have it just immediately, if they have anything else, which it looks like they might be by shocking themselves with this Sacred Foundry here, we can just suspend Gargadon. Now, then every removal spell they have feeds the Gargadon. The Gargadon itself counts as a creature spell when it does finally come off suspend. Looks like they have Path instead here, which is fine. Because guess what? We're still getting in for 2, and if our opponent's pathing, it means they don't have Anger. They might not have a Verdict, and we still have these zombies. I mean, these zombies just exist for the rest of the game. Even if our opponent gets rid of a Bridge, we've already got value, and next turn, I get to spin a Gargadon, kick a Bushwhacker, get in there for a bunch. Depending on what we draw, I could choose to flashback the Looting, I guess. I kind of like, I mean, it depends what our opponent does, clearly, but with Bushwhacker in hand, I can just suspend the Gargadon, kick the Bushwhacker, attack, and if our opponent goes to block, right? If they try to play Delver and block and trade with our Citrus Supplier to remove our Bridge from below, I'll just attack the Citrus Supplier to the Gargadon, and no creatures hit our opponent's graveyard. Bridge from below goes nowhere. By the way, this also works against Wormcoil Engine against Tron. You can keep them from ever gaining life. So I could Faithless Looting here. To be honest, I think it's more... I mean, our opponent missed a land drop. Let's just kill him, right? As a matter of fact, I can... because this is going to give them haste, I can actually get even better value out of this. I can sacrifice this Citrus Supplier immediately here. Get a zombie. We hit a Gravecrawler. Not bad. Yeah, but I get a zombie, and now I get to kick it. So we're just going to be attacking for a whole bunch of damage, as it turns out. And even if this doesn't kill our opponent, which it's going to be pretty good against them. But even if it doesn't, look, we have Faithless Looting in our hand. We have a Bloodghast to discard for value when we find lands anyways, which we probably will off the Faithless Looting. We just have all this recursive power. It just keeps coming. It just keeps coming. And, oh, by the way, we're also attacking for 11 here on turn 3. All right, Lightning Bolt's going to keep our opponent alive. Puts them down to 4. Oh, I actually misclicked there. Sorry, it is so difficult to remember this on Magic Online. In paper, it's easy. On Magic Online, it's so easy. Don't forget to sacrifice your creatures, including your tokens, to your Greater Gargadon. In that case, it didn't matter that we did exactly what Black-Red Bridgevine, that's what it's called, Bridgevine. I named the deck. I helped named it at the Pro Tour. We decided that's what we're going to use in official Wizards of the Coast coverage. Named it Bridgevine. It's a great deck, everybody. This is Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler. Thank you for watching. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to more Bridgevine and Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler, and we are going to have a nice start here. I like this quite a bit, actually. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and be aggressive here. We're going to Blood Crypt and Faithless Loot. Hopefully we get some Vengevines. Okay, 2 Bridge from below. Pretty good. And, well, you know what you do when you have 2 Bridge from belows in your graveyard on turn 1? Yeah, you play 0-drop creature and you get 2 zombies. That's how you do it right there. Next turn we can play Insolent Neonate if we want. We can play we can Bushwhack if we want. We can Bushback Forever if we want. Oh my gosh, we have that Faithless Looting for later. I kind of just like Bushwhacking, to be honest. I'm just gonna Bushwhack till my opponent dies. They probably got a removal spell here. But if they do, and it's not a Path to Exile, we're going to get more zombies off of it. This is the kind of broken start you play the deck for, that's for sure. I say broken, I mean, it's turn 2, we're attacking for 8. You tell me if that's broken or not. But if we hit land next turn, we're going to play Gravecrawler and Bushwhack again. If not, we just get a Bushwhack again anyways. Not a great position for our opponent to be in here. They're going to have to shock themselves with this Hallowed Fountain if they want to interact. Not where they want to be. Now, they could always Miracle Terminus on us. That's one way to get out of it. Alright, instead they're just going to take the 8. Yep. Pathing us, not necessarily helping your cause there any. But now what are they going to do? Alright, so... Citrus Supplier, huh? No land, though. So I just decide whether to Bushwhack or do other things. I'm going to do other things. No need to Bushwhack when it's the play that loses the hardest to removal. And we had a Vengevine here, which we did not, but that's okay. I'll just cast this Gravecrawler out of my graveyard. Why not? And now we're attack. So yeah, no Vengevines here. But this is still pretty good. Our opponent is going to need a Miracle Terminus. We're getting in for 5 in theory this turn. They might path us to only take, 3. That's fine. They're going to. Oh, they're going to use it on our... Oh, interesting. I guess I gave them that window by leaving that by casting that Gravecrawler pre-combat just for ease of F16. But it's fine. I don't really think I care that they did that. Because they're just going to scoop because they're dead. Because our deck is dumb. What can I say? All right. I assume blue-white control is where we want the Bitter Blossoms. We want the Thoughtseizes. It's an open question what their sideboard hate's going to be. We don't know. These Walking Ballistas are not very good here, at least against what we saw. Gargadons are extremely important right here. Gravecrawlers are Probably one of the weaker cards, but, I mean, they're still fine. We can probably cut a Bushwhacker. All right, let's see where we go from here. I mean, I do kind of want to preserve the ability. Like, Ballista's just kind of never bad here. And for the last card, I mean, I can hedge with Ingot Chewer, you know, if they have a, if they're, you know, using Relic, a Progenitus, or, you know, whatever else instead of Rest in Peace. I would just assume that it's Rest in Peace, though, in which case Thoughtseizes are all that matter. So let's get the Gravecrawler back in there. Let's try to grind him out as best we can. That was a nice start for us, and that's why you play this deck, is for stupid stuff like that. When the dice roll, I played a PPTQ last weekend. I played 7 rounds. I went 4-3. I lost 7 dice rolls. Ask me anything. All right, this hand, I'm going to keep it. It's certainly not great, right? It's almost even decidedly mediocre, but Neonate is a pretty good start. Neonate immediately discarding Bridge, getting a 2/2 to kick things off is pretty decent, and that still leaves us with 1 Bridge from Below in hand that doesn't do anything, but we'll figure that out later. Oh, wow. Our opponent Miracle to Terminus. They're going to cast it? I have no idea to see if... No, they have to pay mana first. All right. I do not think they will be casting this Terminus. Oh, they're going to cast the Terminus, huh? Well, I guess I'm not going to get my zombie. It's going to go to the bottom of my library, but I got a Bridge from Below in my graveyard, so you know what? I'll call it even with the Terminus. Hangarback's not bad either. It gives us a window here to do whatever we want. I'd love to draw Bitter Blossom. Oh, Gargadon is pretty good too. Alright, we'll suspend this Gargadon. I think I'll just play this, just put it into play tapped. Yeah, I could play the Hangarback for 0 here, but I think Hangarback, obviously, I think Hangarback in play is a lot better, given that we have this greater Gargadon to work with now, and we can feed it to the Gargadon whenever we want. So even just having a Hangarback for 1 will pay off later. All right, so my opponent's just going to pass back here. We can assume that they have a counterspell of some kind open. Another Gargadon I don't know about. Let's try the Bloodghast. Let's play around as much as we can here. So, and this is actually cool too. My opponent lets this resolve. So I'm just going to sacrifice it to the Gargadon, get a Bridge from Below trigger, and now you can see we're starting to do it. And this is a great example of what this deck does. And specifically, this is a clinic in the power of Greater Gargadon, which is why I'm going to suspend another one right here. Our opponent had a counterspell that turn, right? We can only assume they have Mana Leak or Remand or whatever in their hand. I guess they probably would have remanded the Bloodghast, but they probably have Mana Leak or something. And it just did not, like, there's nothing they could do. They just can't interact with Greater Gargadon. If this was Viscerus here, it'd be so much worse here. But instead, it's just this Greater Gargadon that can't interact with. We even get the free value of removing an extra counter from it, and the Bridge from Below, because we just have the land in hand. You can eat the Bloodghast for free. Oh, look at this. Well, this doesn't work, does it? This actually doesn't work. I could sacrifice all of my creatures, and they get no tokens off the timely reinforcements. It doesn't seem worth it though. I'll just let them have their tokens. I have seen that play made, but you know, now we have the sack outs. We just don't even need to mess with that. We have other ways to work around it, as you'll see. All right, Gravecrawler, pretty good one there. All right, so I think the plan here is just going to be to attack with both these creatures. Honestly, I'm probably willing to give up this Bridge from Below. Our opponent's not, they're just going to take it? I did not expect that. Play Gravecrawler. Play Hangarback for 1. I'm not sure what not blocking with those soldiers means in terms of what to expect from our opponent here. If they were in a Wrath, you definitely block to soak up the life. attacking doesn't make sense. I mean, what are they going to play? They're going to play... Oh, they're going to play Baneslayer Angel. No, that's pretty good. I see. I mean, we can keep them from gaining life for the most part. Eventually. Okay, well. I can eat the Gravecrawler now to make a zombie. I guess there's no reason to do that. This is odd. This is going to be an odd game. Third Gargadon. Not so good. I could kick a Bushwhacker. Seems reasonable. Take up the Hangarback. Or it's 6 and 8. Okay. I think I attack with a team here. Except the Hangarback. I think this is still going to work out reasonably okay for us. I mean, it's not going to work out great, but... Alright, so I'll eat this zombie so my opponent gains no life. I think I just have to let this damage happen. I believe I can sack the triggers so that we get zombies before we lose our bridge. I guess we're going to find out. First strike. Oh, because of the angel. Okay. Okay, so I want to click from the back here, so the exiles go on the bottom. And then we make our zombies. Yep. So as you can see, that still worked out pretty well for us. Our bridge is gone. That one bridge we had is gone. But we got some pretty good value of it out of it before then. I can even recast the Gravecrawler if I want. I don't want to. I want to take up my Hangarback Walker. I am a little worried about just our opponent killing us, I guess. You know, I can eventually put a number of tokens in front of it and then sack them, but we have to actually build up to that first. We also have these things coming off suspend eventually. We can speed that clock up when we need to. I would really, really, really like to hit a Faithless Looting right about now. Well, I guess we get in for 6. Puts us very slightly ahead of the Baneslayer Angel, I guess. Alright, so we cast Gravecrawler. We sack Gravecrawler to this Gargadon. No free value this time, but we do get the Gravecrawler back. Now we pass the turn. We can take up the Hangarback again. So we'll see how long I want to play this game. I mean, our opponent almost certainly has other things they can do besides just beat us down with the Baneslayer Angel. And maybe this is the turn where I cash in the Hangarback. Yeah, I think that might be true. We have these Gargadons coming off in a few turns, or whenever we want. So let's go ahead and make our opponent burn, because then if they burn things, we can set it. Say they Terminus, we can set up where we get our Gargadons in the end step. Alright, so this keeps our opponent from gaining any life with Baneslayer this turn. And we still have a pretty decent attack as well. Let's see what they want to do with their second main phase. They want to do nothing, huh? Well, they probably got Cryptic Commands up over there. Although we can beat Cryptic Command. As long as I can get in some amount of damage this turn. Settle the Wreckage is something that's mildly concerning, I guess. Maybe I keep one back for that reason. Maybe I should have pre-combat done this. I think I'm going to keep one zombie back so we can recast Gravecrawler in case they have Settle here. Keep in mind, we're sort of on this Greater Gargadon clock where we're trying to play around the 9, what are they, 9/7 hasters we're going to get. Vendilion Click, huh? Okay. I don't really think they want to put anything on the bottom for us. I mean, I do want the other Greater Gargadon in my hand, but I don't even hate them trading it out for a new card. This has been a pretty interesting game. They took the bridge from below and gave us another Gravecrawler. Okay, that's fine. Alright, we get some damage in here. By the way, we also have this Bloodghast in our graveyard, which I'm going to go ahead and get back. Alright, now I'm going to suspend this one. I'm going to cast Gravecrawler. I'm going to sacrifice this Gravecrawler. And I'm going to replay that Gravecrawler. So I'd say there's, there's some good... Staggering these Greater Gargadons is actually going to be the more interesting thing to do in this game in order to play around Cryptic Command. This is what I'm talking about. This is a game that if we win, will be 100% because of Gargadon in a way that Viscerus here could just never hope to match. So Settle's still annoying, but reasonable. Settle makes me eat a bunch of things, or just let some of them go, I guess. I think this attack's fine. This theoretically gets through 6, put my opponent at 8, which is lethal from 1 Gargadon. It's actually pretty crazy. I didn't think I wanted the 3rd suspended Greater Gargadon, but maybe I do. Maybe I just needed it. Specifically to continue drowning this Baneslayer Angel. Alright, let's see if my opponent takes 6. They do. Okay, that's good. We've still got the Thopters to block the Baneslayer. I mean, we're making this Baneslayer bad on attack, bad on defense. Greater Gargadon's just making it look silly. Our opponent might be leading into a Terminus here, but that's not a problem either. Because we have this 3rd Greater Gargadon. Also keep in mind, this comes up occasionally, I guess. You can actually hold priority to the suspend, I believe. Yeah, like to the ability. And even once you're out of counters on it, you can sacrifice more things to it if that's what you're into. It doesn't do anything except actually give you sacrifice triggers you wouldn't otherwise get. In this case, we have the 3rd Greater Gargadon suspended, so maybe it doesn't matter, but... My opponent going below 10 life, or specifically below 9 life here, makes things a lot more difficult for them because they could Cryptic Command us in the beginning of combat and I could just let that resolve and then cast my Greater Gargadons. I just don't even care about Rest in Peace right now. I say I don't care. I mean, it's good here. It's certainly not bad for them, but now I think they're actually just dead. All right, so I think I want these in play. 6 on that one. I want to make sure I have lethal this turn through a Cryptic Command. Let's see what they choose to do about the first Gargadon resolves. Okay. I think I want the second one in play as well. I mean, there's still some combinations of things that could get us, I guess. But this looks pretty rough for my opponent. They've actually let us move to attacks. They need double path for the Gargadons, and even then they're dead. So I think Cryptic Command was the only thing they could do, and we have that beat because remember, suspend creatures have haste. Also remember that Gargadon counts as a creature. Or do they have settle? Have they been sandbagging settle forever? Guess we'll see. They're waiting for blockers. Seems like if they had settle, they would just snap settle, not slow roll us. Based on the way they played, I kind of determined that they didn't have settle, and I chose to stop playing around it. Maybe that's correct, maybe not. I was more worried about Cryptic Command this turn. And maybe I could have held things back. You know, maybe I could have swung with both Gargadons. I mean, I would have only been holding back basically a zombie. I don't even think that would have mattered against... I just don't think we can even beat settle. Right, they've made a block. They could go to first strike, gain... So do I sacrifice his Gargadon? I see no reason not to. I mean, it doesn't... Removing their Baneslayer Angel doesn't really matter. Wow, and they have settle. Wow. They wanted to put first strike on, gain the life, and then settle. I don't think I can beat settle and rest in peace. I could have pretty easily beat settle or rest in peace. I don't know that I can beat both. I can set this thing up to come off next turn, but I don't think we're going to win now. I don't think there's anything I could have done about it either. Well, that's pretty unfortunate with this rest in peace and settle on the same turn, the last possible turn for them. Alright, so this puts it down to 3. And this puts it down to 2. And this one will put it to 1. And then it'll go to 0. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we can win now. They needed multiple cards, and they had the actual perfect cards in the format there. Not a lot of other cards that beat us in that spot. I mean, I'm still going to take a shot that their last 3 cards are air, and I can slam them with a 9-7, but I don't think that one's going to be working. Especially since they can make it 12, put us at 10, put us to 5, 3, 8. I mean, if they have literal nothing, I guess we still get to try to kill them, but seems unlikely. It was well played by them. Like I said, trying to get the first strike lifelink from the Baneslayer and then settling was a heads-up play. Well, here we need this thing to resolve, and our opponent to have nothing. Gonna be close. No, I think... I mean, if this game was gonna be close, I think that settle kind of determined that... Too bad. It was if they'd had, you know, Cryptic instead of that, we would have won. If they'd had Verdict instead of that, we would have won. It's basically just settle that could beat us there. Field of Ruin, our Black League Bliss. Okay, I won't search for anything. Got me. Now please take 9. Go to 3. Oh, okay. I like how even after I didn't search for basics off the settle other than the one, my opponent did the right thing and Field of Ruin to me. It obviously wasn't going to matter. All right, well, I guess we want these lightning axes here. Couple of them in here for these Baneslayers. It's a lot easier if we just kill the Baneslayer and don't have to get tricky with it. Get rid of the Ballista here. And we'll pitch a... we'll throw away another Gravecrawler. I think it's pretty clear, as you can see from that game, win or lose, Greater Gargadon's the most important card in our deck. In a lot of situations. Well, I'm into this hand. Gravecrawler into Bitter Blossom with the Lightning Axe to boot. Pretty good. And even though the rest of the hand, the Bridge and the Bloodghast, kind of not... It's fine, right? They're fine, but without a discard effect. Although we have one with this Lightning Axe, for what it's worth. Not very good discarding Bridge from below to Lightning Axe, but you know. But I'm excited about this Bitter Blossom. That's going to be a problem for our opponent. Bitter Blossom, pretty good way to beat Settle the Wreckage. You just keep slamming it until they die. Only thing we have to worry about is a Baneslayer, I think. Baneslayer plus, you know, Wrath and removal and so on. Assuming we don't get Spell Snared. Getting Spell Snared would be unfortunate, but don't think we're going to have to worry about that. Alright, Gravecrawler gets on in there. We even hit our third land, so we're basically set on lands for the entire game here. And we'll play Bitter Blossom. Alright, well, let's see if this will work. It's certainly good in this scenario. We'll see how good. I want more than anything, I just want to draw a Greater Gargadon right now. This card's I'd be okay. I'd be fine with the Faithless Looting too, don't get me wrong. And here comes Rest in Peace. Ruined Halo. You're going to name Fairy Rogue? That's pretty good. Gravecrawler. Okay, that's fine. Alright, let's see if we can hit something good here. Oh my gosh, I'm so good at this game sometimes. Alright, let's faithlessly loot. What do you say? Another Bitter Blossom, huh? I don't even know if I want another Bitter Blossom. I mean, I guess I probably do. Well, I guess I know what I'm discarding too. Just nice and easy. It was an actual draw 2 for us there. I mean, I guess I should play the Bitter Blossom. As long as we don't get Miracle Terminus here, we're putting a lot of pressure on our opponent. Obviously, this Gravecrawler can't attack, so we just may as well ignore it for everything. I like that next turn. I really like how this hand shaped up. Double Bitter... Oh, we're going to get Surgical on the Bridge from below. Well, that's fine. Our opponent dealt themselves 2 damage. I actually have no problem with this. They've let us have Bloodghast to Surgical Bridge from below. It's a very interesting line of play. I mean, it tells you that they probably have timely reinforcements to just trade with our board. But what I love here is... I mean, Bridge from below, it's obviously very good. It might have been the difference in the game. But at this moment, if you ask me, it's actually the least important card in my graveyard between the Bloodghast, the Bloodghast, the Faithless Looting, and that. So I get to, next turn, flashback Faithless Looting with plenty of cards to discard. We get to just have all this damage to our opponent regardless thanks to these Bitter Blossoms. And we just have to hope we don't, you know, die to Bitter Blossom. But if our opponent's leaning on a Baneslayer, we're going to beat that pretty handily. I guess I should just attack. Not that I think our opponent's going to do anything here, but having our opponent down to 10 isn't the worst thing ever with Bloodghast in the mix. Right, let's just go ahead and Faithless Loot and see what our opponent says about it. They might just counter this. They did not. Bloodghast and Vengevine into my graveyard, please. Alright, well, next turn we have we're going to get Field of Ruin here. I actually do have a basic to go get, so this is actually kind of nice. It comes into play tapped or untapped? It comes into play untapped. Yeah. So, I'm not going to use Bloodghast's ability. There's no reason to. That Bloodghast has haste if it ever does hit play. Unless our opponent plays timely reinforcements, I guess. And we're just going to pass. Alright. Well, we're down to 11 here, but putting a lot of pressure on our opponent. Another Faithless Looting. What do you say? Well, do we think they have Settle or not? That's what it comes down to. Gonna go ahead and play like they do. And not bring back that other Bloodghast. I'll get in for 5, which is enough to kill them next turn. And if they settle our board, it's actually just a clean Wrath, essentially. Yeah, that's fine. I could Lava Axe my own Bloodghast, or Lightning Axe it. That doesn't seem quite worth it. And now we can just Faithless Loot again and see where things go. Alright, so I'm actually going to pitch these 2 lands. And I guess go ahead and play out... Well, the problem with... I guess just pass. The problem with playing the Stitcher Supplier is that if we have our Vengevine in our graveyard, we just really want a second creature to trigger it. So we'll just leave things as they stand here. Like I said, we're pretty clearly... Our opponent did not slam Baneslayer that... Ooh, look at that. We can just Thoughtseize them and figure it out. Our life total is a bit of a concern here. Got to keep that in mind. But knowing what they're working with, I think will go a long way. Well, I think they wanted to terminus us, and now I'm not going to let them. And now we know that it is, in fact, safe to swing with the team. Means I'll play this. I'll get the Bloodghast back with haste. Also worth keeping in mind, and this matters more in games, obviously, where we have a sack outlet, Greater Gargadon. But if the opponent was to cryptic command our team and tap it down, I've already mentioned how you can use Greater Gargadon to get back Vengevines from your graveyard. You can also use fetch lands to get back Bloodghast from your graveyard at that point, because when they go that, you're still in your main phase. If they try to do something before you enter combat, I guess that actually works at the beginning of combat before you declare attackers. I don't remember exactly. Either way, the point is fetch lands and Bloodghast. You can do. Remember that you can do it at instant speed. It comes up. I might be getting whether or not what phase you're in when they do that wrong with the way it worked with Godpharaoh's Gift. Because I know if someone tried to respond to your Godpharaoh's Gift trigger, because it triggered at the beginning of combat, you were actually still in your main phase. I think it's different with Cryptic Command, because that actually happens in the beginning of combat. So, but I guess even then you'd be able to fetch and get a Bloodghast. So I think it still works. Yeah. I've convinced myself I'm right. I'm an L1, as you can tell. I'm obviously an expert on the rules. It's much harder when you're talking them through. Okay, well that's pretty good. Not very good against these Fairy Rogues, but not bad. Good draw for them. Alright, so we're going to go down to 5 here. Hangarback's not bad. Alright, swinging the team in at them for sure. Remember, they still have protection. But this can actually attack. I think this means it can still attack Elspeth. I could be wrong, but... This will put our opponent to 1. I'm actually going to keep one of these back. Putting them to 2 feels like it's the same thing. And I want all the blockers I can get so that I actually don't die to soldiers. And or my own bitter blobs. It's actually the largest concern right now. Yeah, actually, maybe I actually messed up. Maybe I should have suppliered first, because if I hit a Vengevine, I could have got a Vengevine. Although it just gets chump blocked, so I don't think it makes a giant difference in the game. We're obviously winning this with Bitter Blossom tokens or nothing. And as it turns out, we hit nothing anyways. I need to keep this in my hand for the Lightning Axe, because like we know our opponent has Baneslayer. Okay, well, we have blockers for our opponent. We have plenty of attackers to kill them. We know that they have a Baneslayer Angel in hand, and I believe that's all they opt. So all we know is they have a Baneslayer and 2 unknowns. So This is going to come down to this last turn here. Although maybe not. We could, if our opponent, say, had a Wrath this turn, we could actually go to 3. I think we would still die. We'd actually die to this Elspeth token, so. Maybe, unless we also found a way to trigger Vengevine. I don't know. Interesting game. Let's see what our opponent has here. Problem is I don't beat Cryptic. Do not beat Cryptic with this hand. That's why I wanted to keep all the blockers I could, because, you know, the worst thing would be getting Path, taking 1 or whatever, going down to 4. My opponent Crypticing and then killing us. But I guess we're dead. We'd be dead no matter what with that line. Well, my opponent's deep in the tank here. Is this game 2? Are we on game 2? I don't remember if this is game 2 or game 3. Oh, this is game 3. We lost game 2 to Baneslayer Angel. Okay, and Settle the Wreckage. This is game 3. My opponent is thinking things through here. Elspeth wasn't a bad draw for them. These Bitter Blossoms, I told you how good they were against control, and you're seeing it right here. You know, I'm not going to say we wouldn't have won the game otherwise, because we might have just had a broken start with a different deck configuration, but they are certainly very, very good against control. All we want to do is make sure that we don't take any damage, so that hopefully we can try to get 2 more attack steps here, and make our opponent either chain Cryptics or what have you. Although I guess if my opponent Cryptic on my next turn, all my things would be down. They should be able to attack us anyway. So maybe that just doesn't even matter. I guess maybe we just can't even beat a Cryptic no matter what. I think we still have 1 Walking Ballista in our deck. Deal him 1. We have Faithless Looting in our graveyard as well, for what that's worth. All right, I don't know if I'm supposed to take heart that my opponent... Is it good that my opponent's in the tank about this or not? I don't know. Well, they're certainly thinking about it. I guess, I mean, what we want them to do is just land Baneslayer Angel, right? That's ideal for us. All right, so they're going to make tokens with Elspeth. Okay. I don't think that really changes anything. And then they're going to scoop. Okay, we did it. Wow. Woo! What a game. It's very interesting that my opponent just never even went for the Baneslayer Angel that we knew they had. They just never even played it. I don't think they saw our hand to know that we had Lightning Axe, did they? We don't. I mean, they just showed us Hardened because how we Gargadoned them in game 2, but I can't think of anything they did. Oh, they saw our hand was Surgical. Yeah. They saw our hand was Surgical. So they knew we had the Lightning Axe. So they knew they could never play their Baneslayer Angel. Well, there you go. That's why we boarded it in. That was perfect. What a game right there. Blue-White Control, everyone. The deck that I won in, say, Blue-White Control and Standard one. The Modern was a different deck. Blue-White Control Modern, though, is very good right now. And we beat it with Bridgevine. So as you can see, as fun of the deck as this deck is, right? And sometimes you just have these crazy Vengevines plays. Sometimes the games don't look like that at all. You see the highs and the lows with it. And I would not be brave enough, I think, to play this at a Pro Tour because of the lows. When this deck like beats itself, like, you know, sort of all decks can do when they're this type of deck where you need a lot of different pieces together, where it's a combo deck or, you know, a graveyard deck or something to enable something else, and you need both halves to work. When it works perfectly. It's sort of like Hollow One, right? When it works, it looks great. Unlike Hollow One, though, which actually has a fairly solid backup plan, when this deck doesn't work, it does actual nothing. I've had game. I think there was one game last weekend where I cast Faithless Looting 4 times in a game. I drew 8 cards. 6 of them were land, 2 of them were Vengevines. My deck didn't do anything. It's obviously that's an example of the bad end of variance that's inherent to any deck. But what I'm saying is, you know, cards like Stitcher's Supplier, or Bridge from Below, or Vengevine in a deck that can't cast Vengevine, and you don't want to stretch the mana base to try to do it. When things don't come together, you just don't do anything. You just get run over. But sometimes you just run people over. It's Magic. It's Modern right now anyways, so it's a lot of fun. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm Corbin Hostler, and this is Mighty Modern. Hello everybody, welcome back to some more Mighty Modern. We are on the play here, and this hand looks pretty good, to be honest. So we've got a lot of options, as you typically do with this deck. So I could just try to turbo out the Stitcher Suppliers here. Although what I think I like more is suspending this Greater Gargadon on turn 1. So we have a slightly worse turn 1 here, and this is, hey, we're not filling our graveyard, we don't know exactly what we have to work with. But you know what? This Gargadon, you're going to see the power of Gargadon in this game right here. This card is so good in the deck. A lot better, in my opinion, than Viscerous Seer. You invest 1 mana early, and then it's just this sacrifice outlet you can't interact with. And that's what it has on Viscerous Seer. It can't be packed, it can't be bolted, any of these things. It's just going to do what we want it to do for the rest of the game. And our opponent... Looks like we might be in the mirror here. Okay. Or our opponent's on Hollow One. We'll see. So you can have a more broken turn. Bridge from Below gets a little awkward if our opponent's also on this. But regardless, we'll see what they do. And then on my turn, I will be playing the Stitcher Supplier. We'll see what we hit. If we hit a Vengevine, that's sort of the dream. Then we can play the other Supplier. Try to hit the, get that Bridgevine back immediately. But if nothing else, we can then sacrifice into our Gargadon and go to turn 3 with a very stocked graveyard, a Hangarback Walker, and a Gravecrawler in hand. So we have options. We'll see what our opponent chooses to do here. I really like this deck. It's a lot of fun. Now, it's interesting because a lot of times I play sort of medium-ish decks on the stream. Obviously, that's the point, right? We're mining Modern. We're kind of digging in to see what we can see. Wow, my opponent just discarded a Lightning Bolt and a Bloodstained Mire. I wonder if that means they're a Mardu Pyromancer or something. But this deck's actually very good. But I feel like it has these issues sometimes where hands like this look great. Sometimes you get hands that just do nothing, though. Played it at PPTQ and found that out. All right, so we get a Gravecrawler. Oh my gosh, we did it. Vengevine in the graveyard right there. Okay, so now I can try to go off a little harder here with Stitcher Supplier, and that seems like it's probably the correct thing to do. Well, you know what? Before I cast it, I can sacrifice this Stitcher Supplier to Greater Gargadon. Give us an opportunity to... Oh my gosh, that's another Vengevine. All right, we're doing it, everybody. Oh man, this is sick, and that's why everybody's deck is broken. Sometimes, anyways. All right, so I'm going to play Stitcher Supplier out here. What do you say to 2 Vengevines on turn 2, huh? Not bad, right? And by the way, there's the 3rd Vengevine. Oh, man. That's the issue with this deck, though, is hands like this are great. We're clearly going to win this game. But variance is a thing with this deck, and I played a PPTQ, and it actually took me... I played the first 10 games I played... in which I went 3-2. I actually started the tournament off 3-0, but my first 5 rounds, I had put exactly 1 Vengevine into play. That's it. Now, I definitely had broken turns, right? I had broken starts where I put 2 Bridge from Belows in my graveyard, play 2 0-drop creatures, get 4 zombies, play a Kick Goblin Bushwhacker the next turn, attack for 14. That's certainly pretty good, right? But sometimes you just get hands that do literal nothing, and you mulligan to oblivion. So the power level in this deck is extremely high, but I don't think, and I'm playing Jacob Nagro's version from the Pro Tour that made the top 8 or top 16. Either way, it missed a win in for top 4. That's a version of the deck I'm playing because I liked it the best, and I wanted to play the list that did well. But I think it's worth noting this deck is in no way solved, right? Whatever, you get this actually on screen here. Solved. Whatever that means. It's sort of like how Hollow One broke out for a hot minute, and then it was kind of like, I don't know, until people figured it out. Same with humans. Same with any deck that comes along. Is you see something as promised, people refine it. A couple months later, it just hits this point where it's great. Our deck is not there yet. All right, so our opponent, I guess, is just hoping we have nothing here. Not really a lot they can do. So the crazy part is I could actually go even further here. I could actually sacrifice all these Vengevines if we're going for the style points here. Oh, we have a bridge in there now, too? Oh, man. Alright, so there's a zombie out of it. What do we got? We got a Gravecrawler in there, a couple Faithless Lootings. Can I get this in play? Do I want to try for all this? I mean, I could play the Gravecrawler from the graveyard, sacrifice it to the Gargadon. I could sacrifice the 2 Vengevines, so I can sacrifice 3 things to this. That puts it down to 3. Sacrifice 3 lands, do it, and go for the style points? Yeah, why not? I mean, heck, you play this deck to have fun, right? We're going to have fun. Alright, so sacrifice the Vengevines. Oh my gosh, should we get these Bridge from Below triggers too? Sacrifice the Vengevine. Get some more zombie tokens. What a clinic right here. This deck's insane sometimes. Alright, so we'll go ahead and play the Neonate from our hand. We will go ahead and... so we got 4 on here. We'll throw this thing to the Gargadon. We'll get another token. We will put some more mana in our pool. Now we'll sacrifice our lands to the Gargadon. And now we have a Gargadon in play. What do you say? Turn 3. By the way, Greater Gargadon, yeah, that's our second creature spell of the turn. Another thing that Gargadon has going for it. Yeah, we'll win that one. This deck is so silly sometimes. All right. So we're up against, that was so dumb. All right, we're up against Mardu Pyromancer here. I think I want the Bitter Blossoms and the Lightning Axes. Bitter Blossom great against the decks that want to grind us out. I would assume this is a good matchup for us. I did win this in the PPTQ I played. I'm going to cut a couple Ballistas here. I'm going to cut a Hangarback. Those are all good in the matchup, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with any of those cards. I don't think we need to mess with Leylines. And Thoughtseize is probably fine. I don't want to get Rest in Peace here. Gravecrawler is pretty much the worst of the recursive threats because it costs mana. It's similar to Bloodghast, except Bloodghast doesn't cost mana to get back. I also sometimes cut a Bushwhacker, so I'll probably just run 2 Lightning Axes here. I will give this a shot. I talked to Jacob Nagro about this deck, and he said you have to be careful not to over sideboard. So usually I don't try to bring in more than basically 5 cards, which is you can see what we did here. It's usually the 3 Thoughtseizes, and then either the 2 Bitter Blossoms, or you bring in the Ingot Chewers, and then obviously sometimes you just have to bring in the Leyline of the Voids. But this deck is fun. It is a lot of fun, but it's also very frustrating. Like I said, that game looked great. I'm sure you'll see before we're done recording videos here, sometimes you just get hands that just don't do anything. You'll Faithless Loot and your deck will just do nothing. Speaking of that, here's a hand that is very potent, but very risky. I'm going to keep it. I think the power level is correct to keep it, but the Insolent Neonates help a ton as well. So we'll go ahead and we'll play one of those out first here. We can throw a Vengevine away to it. So yeah, between lands, like draw steps and the Neonates, we actually get like 4 shots at land here on turn 2 to try to trigger this Vengevine. And maybe we'll also get to play this Bitter Blossom, although I'm guessing there's a Nihil Spellbomb. Okay, well we do want the Ingot Chewers. If that's their graveyard hate of choice, not Rest in Peace, then it's good to know. As a matter of fact, it's actually kind of rough for us. This Bitter Blossom though that's what it's in the deck for. Yeah, may as well just get the Blood Crypt now. By the way, this thing has menace. I've won games just beating down with this thing. Sometimes you just put enough small creatures into play and then kick Goblin Bushwhackers that when people overload to try to disrupt your graveyard, you just can actually kill them with combat damage in a totally normal way. Now, it's not often, but it does happen. I'm really hoping we'll just hit our land number 2 here and just slam this Bitter Blossom and ride it to victory because it's pretty good against Mardu Pyromancer. They don't have a ton of ways to deal with it. Our tokens, I mean, they can obviously they can make more tokens than we can. That is certainly a thing that's possible, but with that, as a matter of fact. All right, so let's see if we can hit our land here. All right, we did not. Let's go ahead and discard the Vengevine. We can at least hopefully make them pop this. Oh, no. Alright, well, looks like that's not happening, so go ahead and sacrifice or we'll play this Neonate. I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice it now while I can get my token. So this makes our opponent choose now whether they want to pop the Spellbomb. And they probably will. I've certainly made it very attractive for them to do so. Well, they're not going to, though. They're going to give us a zombie. There's a Bloodghast. Okay, so like I said, if you have Faithless Looting, this deck's great. Well, maybe I haven't said it. I can't say it enough. Let's just say that. Faithless Looting is so important for this deck. You only play 17 lands. You have to be able to dig to them. I've said it already. I wrote the article for this already. It's up on TCGplayer if anyone wants to go read more about it. But yeah, Faithless Looting makes our deck tick. So that was interesting by our opponent. Maybe good discipline by them. Maybe not. We'll see. I made it very attractive to pop that Spellbomb for no value even. Exile our graveyard but not be able to draw a card off of it. We would have lost our Bridge from Below, obviously, and lost our Vengevine, but then we would have been free to actually, utilize our graveyard. As it stands, well, we have a lot of good draws, so we'll say that. We have a lot of bad draws, to be fair, but any land is good. We can play Bitter Blossom. Gargadon's good. We can, future sack creatures to get Bridge from Below going. And they're going to Fatal Push our zombie, sure. Yeah, our opponent's just going to try to go wide with tokens here. We'll see if we can do anything about it. Alright, there's the land. Now, gosh, I wonder if it's almost too slow on this Bitter Blossom, but I feel like we have to give it a shot. It very well might be too slow. Our opponent getting to untap with Pyromancer there. If this had been last turn, this would have been great. This turn, after we sort of put some work into other other lines of directions our deck wants to go, and our opponent got to do their thing and pop off with these tokens, they might just get to go wider than we can deal with here, but we'll see. Now, knowing I'm up against Nighthill Spellbomb makes a big difference. So, not knowing what their graveyard hate is the difference between playing Ingot Chewers or not. Okay, so looks like we're getting somewhere here. We'll go ahead and play the Stitcher Supplier first. Now we're definitely gonna make our opponent pop this. In fact, well, maybe I actually miscalculated a little bit here. Let's see if we get punished for it. Well, that's interesting. Okay. I think I actually should have played the Neonate first. That way, when our opponent exiled graveyards, we'd be able to get more back in there with the Stitcher Supplier. That said, this still isn't bad for us. I mean, it depends what's on in our opponent's hand, but we're in an okay spot here. Yeah, I think we just pass the turn. Our opponent, if they choose to attack, I obviously throw my Supplier and my Neonate in front of these things. I mean, they have to try to grind us out, and at this point, theoretically, our deck's pretty grindy. Wow, that's incredibly good, though. Liliana the Lost Hope is what you would call a bomb right here. All right, there goes our token. Yeah, that's a nice clean answer to Bitter Blossom. That's pretty rough for us. Our opponent's gonna do nothing, actually. Okay. All right, we hit the land. That's good. Gosh, in some ways, this Neonate is better than the Bloodghast we'd have that I would, want to throw in there. I think I'm just going to attack Liliana with these two. I could throw away the Neonate. I mean, realistically, I don't think we're going to win this game, probably, but we'll see here. I think I'm just going to play Bloodghast. Well, we'll see. If my opponent goes for the double block on it. This is where my opponent learns that it has Menace. Yep. This is where my opponent learns that Insolent Neonate has Menace. The problem for us is this Liliana, I think, is actually the card that's going to seal the game. Right, I mean, our opponent's going to let us get through. That's fine. All right, we need to mill some good stuff here. Hey, we hit a Vengevine. That's pretty good. I think I play my land, and I think I play my Bloodghast. Okay, so we'll see how this goes here. This line looked very odd, and maybe it was wrong. Maybe I should have just played multiple Bushwhackers instead. But with Vengevine in our graveyard now, our opponent has to be at least a little scared, because we can play a Bushwhacker next turn and then kick a Bushwhacker, get back our Vengevine, give the team +1/+0 in haste, including that Fairy Rogue we're going to make off the Bitter Blossom. And we might be able to close this out. I mean, Liliana is a massive problem. But if my opponent goes for Liliana on Neonate, we can draw a card. If they go for it on the Fairy, sure, whatever. And if they go for it on the Bloodghast, obviously we can get it back with this Bloodstained Mire. So, yeah, we'll see how things work out here. I would say we have a shot. All right, they're going to get rid of our Fairy. Sure. This Liliana is an incredibly good card against us. Pretty good against our sideboard strategy of boarding in Bitter Blossoms, too. All right, so yeah, our opponent's just going to pass the turn to us here. So I'm going to go ahead and fetch. We do have to, I mean, obviously we have to be a little bit conscious of our life total. We can just get lightning bolted out, but I don't know if there's going to be much we can do about that. All right, we'll go down to 7 here off the Bitter Blossom. We hit a land. Okay. So I'm going to play a Goblin Bushwhacker without kicking it. We'll see. For all I know, my opponent could have Rakdos Charm and just Rakdos Charm us too. There's exile or graveyard. There's a lot of things that could go wrong, but we're at least going to put him to the test here and try to return this Vengevine. I mean, they have to have something in their hand. They've done nothing, and they get a bunch of tokens whenever they, you know, do. Okay, looks like we're going to get Vengevine back, though. And now we have a nice board. What do I want to do with it's the question. So I think, interestingly, I actually might want to keep something back to block. Because our opponent... So if we send everything at them, let's think this through for a second. It's 5, 7, 9, 14, 16. So it is lethal, but all it does is force an elemental in front of the Vengevine. Then they attack us for 4 and lightning bolt us to death. So I think we have to instead prioritize killing Liliana, which means sending this at Liliana... Sending this at Liliana, sending the Menace creature at Liliana, sending the Can't Block creature at Liliana. I guess we have to send one of these as well. I don't know if this is going to work out, but I'm going to attempt to kill Liliana while keeping back something. The problem for us, I think, is if our opponent... I mean, this is probably the best I can do, though. If our opponent just lets Liliana go, then hopefully I can block a Pyromancer, not take more than 5 damage... and maybe get another turn here. So it just depends on what my opponent's 3 cards in hand are. Considering they have a Faithless Lily and they didn't flash back, and they just let all of this happen, I'm fairly confident we're just going to get lightning bolted to death here in the end step. Fatal Push our Bushwhacker, attack for 6, kill us, yeah. I mean, maybe I could have kept back another Bushwhacker, but all it takes is him having just one other spell. I mean, I just don't... I think just missing our land drop was too dangerous there, but we're just dead. Okay, so the thing with the Bitter Blossoms is they are still very good. Our opponent has to have Liliana, and now we need to be on the play. I wonder if Ballista's... I mean, Hangarback Walker is pretty good too, but... Alright, so we want the Ingot Chewers. Let's change plans up a little bit here. Let's cut the Bitter Blossoms. We're going to go with the Ingot Chewers. Let's cut a Lightning Axe. Now... I like the Lightning Axes, though, quite a bit. They're pretty much the best way to kill the... I'm going to cut a Gargadon. I think we'll give this a shot. I mean, Lightning Axe has got to be our preferred way to deal with the young Pyromancers our opponent has. But also having access to Ballistas is good there, too. I mean, honestly, our entire deck is pretty decent at grinding out a Mardu Pyromancer deck. And that game was pretty close. Gargadon's sweet, of course, but I mean, I guess drawing 2 of them is almost always too many. So, especially post-board here, where we're already having to loot our deck, you know, in various different ways. And you know, I've tried to take a little bit from here, a little bit from there, so that we're not, you know, we still are able to access our game plan without really killing too much of any one piece. Because, like I said, that's the thing with the deck. Is you have these enablers, you have these payoffs, you have these cards that sort of, you know, do it all, right? But sometimes you can over sideboard and now all of a sudden your deck just doesn't work and you lose a fair game. Sort of like that one. I mean, we kind of did our thing. We got some value from our graveyard. I mean, we got Bloodghast back. We got a Vengevine back. But it just didn't quite work out. All right, our opponent's deep in the tank here, which is good, actually, because they're probably sideboarding now considering Bitter Blossom, thinking about how they just lose the Bitter Blossom if they don't have the Liliana there. And we just boarded them out to try to be more aggressive here on the play. Bitter Blossom, though, it's great against the control decks. You know, the thing is, it's really difficult because with Vengevines and Bushwhackers, it's really difficult for them to deal with our deck, right? The Wraths don't necessarily cut it, plus they're actually pretty slow. Path to Exiles and stuff can get ground through, or we can beat it with Greater Gargadon, etc. But Bitter Blossom is just this card that control decks are not very well set up to deal with. All right, we'll go ahead and play first here. Huh. Well, this hand looks great. We got the Thoughtseizes as well. So, all right, we're going to start things off by Faithless Looting, as you always do. And we'll see where things go from there. All right, Blood Crypt, Faithless Looting. See what we hit. All right, we'll definitely pitch in the Bridge from below. Well, we need land here. I kind of want to throw away the Bushwhacker just because it's the card that does the least. I might throw... we need land really badly. Not hitting enough looting there is kind of rough. It's a 17-land deck, and I get why it's 17. Heck, I've even flooded out with this deck before, but you really need about 2 lands to operate. It might just be a Thoughtseize, because next turn we're going to play Neonate. We're going to sacrifice Neonate, throwing away something to draw another card. And get value from our bridge. Or we're going to Supplier. I think that Thoughtseize might just be the worst card for a while, but I'm going to start by throwing away Bushwhacker. I will say that, you know, and maybe I could have played it differently. In fact, maybe I should have done this. Maybe knowing that our opponent's playing Nihil Spellbomb as their graveyard hate of choice, a 1-mana card, I actually should have Thoughtseized on turn 1. We're going to find out if I get punished for it here. I mean, it's hard to ever say that Faithless Looting on turn 1 is wrong because it gives you the most options. It lets you sculpt your game plan. But it is actually possible in this case that I should have Thoughtseized first. Then on turn 2, draw an additional card. And that's the turn we need to hit that second land anyways. Faithless Looting then, hopefully followed up with a Stitcher Supplier or whatever, but maybe not. Luckily, our opponent doesn't have it, so we're not going to get too punished here. If that was even correct. Like I said, I don't know. It's hard to say. But in retrospect, I actually think I lean towards Thoughtseizing on turn 1 there. Turn 2, Faithless Looting. You get if the goal is to just hit land, basically, because what we draw does is we just want to hit land. That gets us one. It gets the same on turn 2, I guess, but it sort of centralizes all of our information into one turn, knowing what we have access to, and we would have the additional knowledge knowing our opponent has. Now, fortunately for us, we just seem to we just have it all here, so I'm going to go ahead and Thoughtseize. I think we just... Our opponent just drew 2 cards. Let's just Thoughtseize them to death on this turn. Alright. So, I don't care too much about what they're doing. The Bedlam Reveler is annoying. So is the Pyromancer. We actually have an answer to the Pyromancer, though. So, I'm going to start by taking the Spellbomb. It's a good Faithless Looting for them. But, I mean, it usually is. They even put a Lingering Souls into their graveyard. Take the Spellbomb here. Next turn, I mean, our opponent's going to want to just play Pyromancer. I think I take the Spellbomb. Well, no, if they're smart, they actually hold it till turn 3. Gosh, what if I took Spellbomb and Thoughtseize? And then my opponent hopefully taps out for Pyromancer, and I can Lightning Axe it. That's obviously what we want the most here. It's kind of funny, actually. In my deck full of things to discard, I don't have anything I want to discard to Lightning Axe. Alright. This Reveler will be a problem later as well. Their hand is pretty stacked right now. I'm going to take the Spellbomb. I mean, I see no reason not to just Thoughtseize them again. Unfortunately, I do think I have to be very greedy with my life here. Alright, well, now it's come down to it. Like, if I'm my opponent, what I do on the next turn is Thoughtseize us. And then play Pyromancer on 3 and then loot. I guess the issue for our opponent, if they do that, is that, I mean, one, they're not guaranteed a third land with the, you know, with if it's at least a possibility. I guess the danger in not taking the Thoughtseize is if they just Thoughtseize away our Lightning Axe, we have no ways to deal. I'm just going to take the Pyromancer, I think. It's just, if that's the card we care about, rather than try to get cute and get value out of Lightning Axe or whatever, when we don't even have value, let's just get rid of this. Because killing this anyways would make our Bridge from below go away. So let's just get rid of it now. let's leave our opponent with, admittedly, what's going to be a good Bedlam Reveler. So they Bedlam Reveler, Thoughtseize, land, and an unknown. Looting and an unknown. So if they Thoughtseize us here, I mean, they probably take our Supplier, but it's not the end of the world. We have, if we hit land, we have a Faithless Looting in our graveyard. We have a Bridge that we can trigger with the Neonate. And our opponent's just going to loot. Loot likely followed by Thoughtseize here. And maybe we'll get a chance to actually burn this on a Bedlam Reveler, which is obviously what we want anyways. This might work out. We're going to draw a card, then the Neonate... Gosh, we need things to discard for value. Not often a problem you have with the deck, but... do need things to discard for value. Not an aggressive hand from us, but a much more controlling hand, which I think is good. I mean, we hit our opponent's Nihil Spellbomb, we hit their Young Pyromancer. Those cards are what we lost to last game, so I don't mind that. Our opponent's in the tank a little bit here with this looting. It's kind of rough for them. Is they have a lot of good cards, right? So they pitched a land in Inquisition. They have 3 left. So those 3 that we know about are, so that's the Arid Mesa. So they have Thoughtseize, Bedlam Reveler, and I believe an Unknown. And we're likely going to get Thoughtseize here. I actually don't know what you take if you're them. I guess, honestly, you should probably just take the Lightning Axe so you can resolve your giant Bedlam Reveler. Because that Bedlam Reveler is going to be very difficult for us to beat. It's just going to refill their hand at the perfect time. And I think it's pretty cheap right now. So there's a Souls in there. 2, 3, 4. After they Thoughtseize 5. Which means the Bedlam Reveler is going to be very cheap for them on the next turn. Alright, here comes the Thoughtseize. I would assume they actually take Lightning Axe to protect their Bedlam Reveler, but maybe not. I'd say that what we hit here is actually going to be pretty important. I mean, we have a little bit of value in our graveyard. We kind of need some more. Making zombies is certainly not bad. It's actually pretty good against a Bedlam Reveler plan, for what it's worth. Yeah, I guess we'll just let our opponent make their decision. I'm kind of and they actually took the Stitcher Supplier. Okay. Which makes sense because now we have 2 cards in our hand. Hey, that's not bad. We actually have 2 cards in our hand that care about cards in our hand, right? If that makes sense. So when they play this Bedlam Reveler, I can Lightning Axe it and pitch a card, but I can't Neonate and pitch a card and Lightning Axe. But obviously I will Lightning Axe the Bedlam Reveler, have a Bloodghast in our graveyard, and then see if we can draw out of it. Because, you know, we have a lot of bad draws, of course. Like I say that, you have Bridgevine, Below and Vengevine in your deck. You have some bad draws. Neonate helps a fair amount with that, to be honest. But it's also true we have good draws. And land is a good draw because we can Flashback Faithless Looting. I think I've dealt myself 10 damage this game. 2 fetch shots is 6, 2 Thoughtseize is 4. That's 10. Yep, sure have. It's been a good game, though. And my opponent's in the tank. I mean, they can fire off a... In fact, if they don't have a 3rd land, I don't even think they can cast it. Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think they have 5, which means this thing costs 7. 8 minus 5. Wow, they're going to do nothing instead. Well, that's probably good for us. Well, Ballista's not bad here. Guess I'm just going to attack. This is such a weird game. Do I actually want to even activate? Do I want to play Ballista for 1? I mean, I kind of don't. I think I can be patient and wait on it. It is really hard to say because, you know, we're foregoing making zombies right here. And in fact, okay, yeah, okay. Here's a lightning bolt to our face. Yeah, this play makes sense. So now they can actually play their Bedlam Reveler. That's what I was saying, and that's kind of why I held the Ballista there, because if our opponent, if we play Ballista, it obviously just gets shot by the lightning bolt instead of our face. because it kind of made sense they were holding a spell there to make this cost just 2 mana so they could actually play it. But obviously there's no reason to main phase their removal there. So I think this was correct. Well, they're going to go with the Lingering Souls plan, huh? Okay. Well, I think this is where I cash in the Bloodghast. Because I'm going to get to see another card now. Make our Bridge from Below zombie. Hit a land. Okay. Now, I think we're starting to get somewhere now. We might just die to this, though, and that is actually pretty annoying. There's a Supplier. Okay, so I think I go Supplier first here. Hopefully, fingers crossed for a Bloodghast or a Vengevine, ideally. Ooh, we hit nothing, huh? Alright. Blackleaf Fliss is the best land, too, by far, to have here. Alright, well, that's good. It gets that back. Use the Bloodghast ability. Play the Walking Ballista. And I think we just shoot down one of these so that our zombie can get in. And we'll still get a trigger off of this. So we can't Lightning Axe here. So there goes our Bridge from Below. But, you know, we've got a little bit of value off of it here. Now we get to attack with a zombie. It's going to be a really close game, and I'm not sure that I've played it right. I'm not sure if we're going to get there, but, you know, Lightning Axe is dead in our hand, but hopefully our opponent just casts their Bedlam Reveler here, and then we get a Lightning Axe on our turn with whatever we draw. We also have Faithless Looting in our graveyard. We can flash back. I didn't do it that turn because I actually wanted to kill a spirit for, you know, several reasons, and maybe I should have attacked first. See if our opponent actually traded spirits with the zombies, but then we don't get the extra zombies. So, no, I think actually what I did was correct. Sorry, I just stream of consciousness with this deck. It's far more complicated than it appears. I mean, you saw game one. Sometimes you just got everything, can't lose with it, but it's pretty tricky. In fact, I'm gonna be honest, I tried to record with this a few days before when I am recording now, and I actually had to scrap it because after the first game, I was like, I have made so many mistakes, I can't possibly even attempt to play this deck. I don't mind making mistakes, but it is rough. This deck is not easy to play. There's a difference between, oh, I made a mistake here, oh, this line would have been better if I'd done this, and, oh, this game is just unplayable because I don't know what I'm doing. And that's how I felt the first time I picked this deck up. It's like the first time I ever played Dredge in Legacy, the first time in my life when I started playing Magic and just had no idea what I was doing. Just draw that opening hand, you're like, like on the outside looking, you're like, oh, I know what a Dredge deck does. You just dredge. You get everything out of your graveyard. You look at this hand, this deck, right? And you're like, oh, you get Bloodghast and Vengevines out of your graveyard. It's easy. But I'm telling you, the first time I looked at it, the first hand I had with this, I was like, this is a bunch of cards, and I have no clue what I'm supposed to do. I think I'm playing the deck fairly well now, to be honest. Like, I don't think I'm playing it perfectly, or perhaps even great, but I think I'm doing a reasonable job with the deck. Last week into the PPTQ, I lived the ups and downs of this deck. I had Kill People on turn 3 hands. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, well, there goes our Lightning Axe. This is a very interesting play from our opponent. Anyways, I had the ups and the downs with this deck. Oh, man, that was good. I think this is good anyways. Maybe it's not. Maybe just plain Faithless Looting is better. So I'm not sure how much value we're actually getting off the Gargadon right now. Alright, I'm going to attack first here, see what happens. Put the decision to our opponent at least. The problem for they get to have a big turn next turn because they get to play their Bedlam Reveler for 2, have access to 2 mana after that to do whatever they want with either the cards in their hand or the cards they draw. Making us get rid of that Lightning Axe is pretty good, though. Not how you expect Kolaghan's Command. I mean, when you're playing against a deck where discarding cards is not just an advantage, but something I actively look to do, a little non-intuitive to make us discard a card. It worked out very well there where they knew our last card was that Lightning Axe. All right, so our opponent's on to 4. I think that I'm supposed to flashback the Faithless Looting just because it's more mana efficient, as weird as that sounds, maybe. And so maybe, what am I really going to do, though? The difference is in the amount of plays it opens up to us next turn. Playing Gargadon allows us to sack the Stitcher, which isn't for a lot of value. I think I'm gonna loot. I don't know here. I mean, I could play the Gargadon if I have land next turn. That's great. And with Faithless Looting, I can probably guarantee I get a land to get the Bloodghast back. But sort of the payoff here is at that point. I mean, it's great if the Gargadon, you know, sacks the Supplier and we mill a bridge. Then nice, I'm getting value. But otherwise, I'm not necessarily getting a lot of value. And that everything I just said can be true for the most part by looting this turn and suspending it next turn. This is hard to say. I'm going to loot, though. All right, well, it's going to be easy for us because I'm going to discard a land. Oh, maybe I discard a Gargadon and a Bloodghast, and then I have land in hand. Could that be good? Gosh, by this line, I should have done this pre-combat. I guess I mean, it's so hard to say. Because there's a very real chance that depending on what and that changes if my opponent blocks, you know, and if I draw, especially if I draw, you know, the problem with looting beforehand there is it's good if I hit Bloodghast, but if I hit Bridge from below instead, and I end up wanting to sack up to Gargadon or whatever, it's bad because then my opponent just blocks a Bloodghast with their Spirit, and I don't get anything, right? Or they block my token zombie with their Spirit, and they get rid of my bridge, and then I've basically done nothing with my turn. So while this, you know, feels sort of weird or bad to have a Bloodghast that can't block out here with haste post-combat, I think it was still correct to attack first. And I do think it's correct to just go ahead and play the land there since it comes into play tapped. Since I don't really want to pay 2 life, just have access to the most mana next turn. And maybe I can make the argument it's better in my hand. Because then we have the surprise factor with that Bloodghast, and if I hit, say, the other Lightning Axe in the deck, I could use it. If I hit an Insolent Neonate, I'd be able to use it. And so maybe there's a good argument to keeping it in my hand there. All right, so my opponent has cards in hand. They're 4 life. You can also make the argument I wasn't supposed to keep the land. Maybe I was supposed to keep the Gargadon. Suspend it next turn, and if I hit land, then I get the Bloodghast back, and if I don't, then I don't, but I don't know. Like I said, this deck is not easy to play, but all right, if my opponent's just casting the Bedlam Reveler, though, that's good for us. I mean, they're not dead, but I can just sort of send in the goons here with the Stitcher Supplier. Now, we're out of value in our graveyard for what it's worth. We have no Faithless Looting, so we're at the mercy of our deck here, and we certainly do have some bad draws. Yeah, punished. Don't think I played bad, but I did get punished. I think we have a free attack here, though, right? Maybe I have to keep something back to block so I don't die. Maybe I'm just dead anyways. If I attack with everything, I mean, obviously the Bloodghasts are free. Do I need to keep both of the others back to block? If I attack with both Bloodghasts, he takes 3. They take 3. They don't die. This is discounting even what they have in their hand. I think I need to keep blocks back so I don't get lightning bolted plus attacked. But I do get a free attack here with this. Alright, so my opponent has to either lightning bolt something or block, and either way it takes something off the field for them. I think playing defensive is good, especially with the Stitcher Supplier as the perfect blocker. But the worst thing would be to get too aggressive here, do 3 damage to my opponent, put him to 1, and then have them, you know, lightning bolt my Stitcher Supplier and just kill me with a Prowess up. You know, kill my Supplier with whatever and then kill me. But this is exactly what I want to see them do, is play scared of us. Because going to 1 can also be scary for them in the sense that we can play Walking Ballista and finish them off. I had that happen a few times last weekend. All right, this is the block I'd like them to make, where they eat both creatures, but we get their Spirit off the board. Then I just replay my Black Leafless and get my Bloodghast back. And I'm not going to try to get tricky. Well, maybe I should. Basically, it comes down to Kolaghan's Command. Kolaghan's Command making us discard our Black Leaf Cliffs would be pretty rough. That would be quite the blowout, to be honest. And you know what? If I'm going to be playing the land no matter what, and I mean, if I were to draw Insolent Neonate, it's unlikely that anything I can do is better than just playing a land. So I'm probably just going to play it post-combat. All that said, we are still actually falling farther behind here. And you know what? With that in mind, maybe I just keep this in hand. I mean, if they K-command us, that would be a very aggressive line, because for all they know, they're going to make us discard a Vengevine or whatever, right? I mean, not that that would matter. It's not like we can cast 2 things currently. This is where you can actually see the lack of Gravecrawlers. Maybe we overboarded. Maybe I boarded in 3 Ingotchers. Maybe I only wanted 2. I don't know, because not being able to cast Gravecrawlers out of our graveyard right now is a little rough. But we also might convince our opponent to waste mana on a Inquisition of Kozilek or something here. I think... oh god, that's Kolaghan's Command mana. That would be so sick if they kill our zombie, make us discard this Blackleaf Cliffs. I'm not sure that would make any sense for them at all, but it is terrifying if they, you know, just have the soul read on me having a land in hand here that I'm trying to get greedy with. Like I said, and I don't know if I'm getting greedy because... okay, Liliana. That's fine for us, I think. It's not good for us. And in fact, this might even work out because, well, it's sort of the same, I guess. Liliana can kill our Supplier. I don't think our opponent's going to want to do that. Yeah, it makes the zombie essentially useless, but they can't attack either. Alright, this is where I'd really like my deck to serve me up something good here. Oh my gosh, really? This is the attack they're going to make? I would love for them to make this attack. Attack me with this? I throw this zombie away? Yeah, yeah, keep that thing back. There's no way you're attacking with that. Okay. Alright, let's see what we draw. Hangarback Walker is pretty good. Pretty good, I would say. Alright, so let's go ahead and play our land here. Hangarback Walker is a great draw. It has to be Path. So now, I'm still not necessarily in a better position, but I think I attack my opponent with everything. This attack still only puts him to 1. 1 means they can't fetch, though. Maybe I still keep this back. Maybe putting them to 2 is basically the same as putting them to 1. Is that true? Could that be true? It's just Path to Exile. It's Path to Exile plus another removal spell, right? In order, they'd have to have Path to Exile, although that is what they're representing right now. But they'd have to have Path to Exile plus another removal spell to make the Hangarback bad if I attack with the Supplier. I think it's worth it. The Hangarback is so good. I mean, our opponent has to have Path and another removal spell. And then we're not even dead, necessarily. Having this back as a blocker, it has a lot of value. But putting our opponent to 1 also does, because it means they're dead next turn. But well, to the current board. And maybe I'm supposed to go after Liliana here. Problem is I can't kill Liliana, which means I think I'm supposed to ignore it. Although that maybe not, though, because if they minus Liliana, get a Pyromancer, maybe I'm supposed to go after Liliana. This is so hard. You know, maybe one of my opponent's best lines to getting back in the game at this point is to not have me touch Liliana, and then they minus Liliana, get back a young Pyromancer, and then cast spells, and now they have blockers for the rest of the game, and I'm not going to be able to win. I think that's what I'm going to do. I think if my opponent just has the... If they have the Path to Exile, and they don't use it, and they have another removal spell, then more power to them, I guess. But I think one of the more likely ways we lose is for a Liliana minus, casting on Pyromancer for 2, then have 2 mana to work with, get a lot of tokens, and then none of our board matters. And our Hangarback just even gets chumped for days until we have a way to get rid of it. And now you can see my opponent's actually thinking about this here. I want to draw a Greater Gargadon, which kind of makes me question the attack or the decision I made earlier to keep land and pitch the Gargadon. But the difference, I mean, we wouldn't have been in this position if I had done that, right? We would have just had incredibly less pressure. We'd be dying to that Spirit token. I'm just going to throw this out there, make my opponent have a Path to Exile. Here comes the moment of truth. Well, they would have done it on instep, so I think we might be safe for the moment here. Hangarback's pretty good. Now, any draw on our deck outside of Vengevine and outside of Bridge from Below is a good draw. Bridge from Below, by the way, even though you can cast it for black, 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 we can't cast Vengevine at all, but we could cast a black, black, black Bridge from Below. But it does nothing. It does actual nothing in play. The only thing it would be good for would be sacrificing it to an Emrakul trigger when we get annihilated. All that said, though, Hangarback is pretty good here. You know, my opponent can minus Liliana on it, but that's fine, because now I just get to spend the rest of the game ticking it up. And, you know, like I said, I would say that things are basically in their favor right now, given that they have 4 cards and we have none. But any land off the top of our deck is terrifying for them. They can no longer Liliana to get back that. I guess they also have to worry about their clock. There are 2 minutes here. And they're 4 life, so... Alright. So they're going to minus to kill a Bloodghast. That is an aggressive line, but I think it actually makes sense from their perspective. Because letting me have multiple creatures on the battlefield is just very bad for them. I think actually getting the Bloodghast off and just hoping that we whiff for the rest of the game on returning it could be their best bet. You know, using your Liliana to minus our zombie but not get rid of it, not very good. You know, our opponent needs us to draw uncastable cards, which we have plenty of. But we also have a lot of cards to kill him, so... I mean, basically I think I count 7 draws, 4 Vengevine, 3 Bridge from Below to do nothing for us. And the rest of our deck should, in theory, be good. I'm sure I'm missing something here. We could draw the other Lightning Axe, so we're up to 8 draws that are bad out of 36. So what is that, like 20%? 20% of the cards in our deck are bad. That's fine. Means 80% of them are good. They're going to Inquisition just to get Prowess. That doesn't make me feel very good. I don't know what that means. Oh, the Inquisition... What just happened? Why would they do that? To hope I don't block? Are they sitting on Anger of the Gods or something? They would just play Anger and win. What the heck is going on here? I mean, I think I just have lethal. I guess their out is that I just don't block and get lightning bolted to the face. Yeah, I don't think I get blown. I think this is... I don't think I get punished for doing this. We'll find out. Lingering Souls, sure. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Wow, that was one of the ways we could lose. Huh? Send the team in at them, they don't die. Send the team in at Liliana, Liliana does die. Alright, so we're going to attack Liliana. What is going on here? Alright, attack Liliana. Why can't... What is going on? There we go. Alright, we'll attack Liliana. This, I guess it doesn't guarantee that we kill Liliana. But it does guarantee Liliana can't minus. Like I said, I am being very aggressive, I mean, based on what our opponent did. They put another Lingering Souls into their graveyard, by the way. Or rather, they cast the Lingering Souls, and now it is in their graveyard. Alright, Liliana's going to bite the dust, at least. Trying this Lightning Axe is pretty awkward. So if our opponent has, if of their 3 cards, they have Removal Spell plus light. Oh my gosh. We die to a Lightning Bolt. That they certainly are acting like they have. Ingot Chewer, Arid Mesa, Ballista. Well, those wouldn't have done anything for us. I think we're going to lose. Our opponent's going with 12 seconds left on their clock. Or are they just going for the absolute slow roll? Oh, no, they should have another Bedlam Reveler. 5. Oh, we got the turn back. We did it. What a crazy game. I guess we just passed. They're going to time out. Would we have won this game if they don't time out? I guess that's a real question. Like, I'm kind of actually not winning here. Let's say our opponent... Let's ignore the fact we're there at 2 seconds here. Oh, they have the Lightning Bolt. We did get slow rolled. We lost in 1 second. Guess I lost with 1 second on the clock. Good game. Good game. That's all I have to say. I'd be very interested. I mean, I'm sure there are parts of that game where I could have played better. This deck is difficult. I did the best I can do, everybody. Oh man, drawing that Lightning Axe that's a tilter. 20%. We rolled very unlucky there. RNGesus was not on our side. We hit land, we get the Bloodghast for the easy kill. We hit anything else, we can at least play it. We're still in the game. Oh man, well navigated by our opponent winning with 1 second left on the clock. Congrats, Tim MTG. Thanks.